Yo, what's up, boys? Today, I got a story time for you all about some bullies who decided to throw rocks at little kids. No, you didn't hear me wrong. They actually threw rocks at little kids. Obviously, that's something that's extremely dangerous, something you should not do, but some people are just complete idiots, I guess. Thankfully, nobody ended up getting hurt, but it's still a really crazy story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so this story was told to me by some family friends while they were visiting a couple of months ago, and the mom of the family, we're gonna name her Sydney for the story. Now, one day in the spring, Sydney and one of her friends took their daughters, as well as Sydney's dog, to the park to, just hang out and enjoy themselves. Usually, when parents are at a park with their kids, it's usually for some downtime, but also an opportunity for the kids to have fun, which is always pretty nice to see. Anyways, when they arrived at the park, Sydney and her friend noticed that there were two boys also at the park, and they appeared to be around 11, 12 years old, something like that. And at first, it appeared like they were just, doing their own thing, not really bugging them, so they didn't really think much of them at first. Now, Sydney's daughter and the other kid were both around 7 years old when this took place, which I'd say is towards the end of that age where they can still be considered little kids, right? And since they're still little kids, they're very excited about being at the park, and they wanted to use the slide, the swings, all the other fun playground equipment. One of those things that they were excited to use was the merry-go-round. Now, it's not the type of merry-go-round you're probably thinking of. It's not the one with, like, the animals you ride on and stuff. It's actually the type of merry-go-round on screen right now. I'm sure you've all seen at least one of these at some point in your life. So the girls start going over to the merry-go-round to play on it, but they notice that the two boys I mentioned earlier were putting rocks all over the merry-go-round, and the girls' first thoughts were probably something like, that's weird, why are they putting rocks all over the merry-go-round? Because that's not exactly the most common sight, you know? Now, as for why they put the rocks in the merry-go-round, I'm guessing they put the rocks on it so they could spin it around and make the rocks go flying. I'm kind of guilty of that myself. That's one of the many dumb ideas I had as a kid. Except, I didn't use rocks. I used sand, which is even stupider because I could have blinded someone by getting sand in their eye. Even though they aren't as bad, the rocks can still be pretty dangerous. If they fly off and hit someone's head, boom, that's a free concussion. And as someone who's had multiple concussions, concussions are not fun. My piece of advice to anyone watching this video is don't be an idiot, okay? Like, don't put rocks or sand on a merry-go-round and spin it. Like, that's only gonna ever end badly. Like, just don't do it. Anyways, so Sydney sees the boys putting the rocks on the merry-go-round, and she decides to walk over and ask them nicely to stop since the girls want to use it, which is definitely the right way to approach things in the situation. You don't want to start an argument, yet you still want them to stop so the girls can use the merry-go-round. So she tells them, hey, my daughter and her friend want to use the merry-go-round, so could you please take the rocks off so they can use it? Overall, just being very nice while asking. The boys look a little annoyed. They look like, this sucks. Why aren't we allowed to make rocks go flying? But they do end up agreeing to Sydney's request, so they grab the rocks and run over to the foresty area of the park. Since the rocks are now off the merry-go-round, the girls decide to start playing on it, and they initially appeared to be having fun, enjoying themselves, just having a good time. But that's when the boys who put the rocks on it decide that they still want the rocks to fly somehow, because from the wooded area, they start throwing their rocks at the girls. Now, these rocks weren't huge or anything, but still, it doesn't take more than a few brain cells to know that throwing rocks at people is kind of a big no-no. And it's even worse by the fact that these two brats were throwing rocks at 7-year-olds. They're little kids. These dudes are almost teenagers. Like, I just can't figure out how you could be this stupid. For those of you about to comment, oh, but kids are stupid. They always do dumb things. Most kids are not this stupid, okay? Like, it should be common sense for someone who's almost a teenager that throwing rocks at literal first graders is not okay in the slightest. But I don't know, these two kids probably never even made it to first grade if I had to guess. Anyways, so the girls are getting pretty scared at this point because they're getting rocks thrown at them, so they start screaming, and before any of you call them wimps or whatever, imagine yourself in their shoes for a second. You're a 7-year-old kid just wanted to have fun at the park with your friend, when these almost teenagers who seem like these huge giants start throwing rocks at you and your friend. You'd probably be super scared too. Okay, so the girl screaming draws the attention of Sydney and her friend, and upon seeing these kids throwing rocks at the girls, Sydney yells at the kids, "Stop throwing rocks at my kid! What are you doing? Stop!" Because obviously, if you see some dudes throwing rocks at your kid who's still really little, you'd start to get pretty mad too. But unlike last time, the boys decide that they're not going to listen to Sydney's request. In fact, after she yells at them, these two, just menaces to society, grab bigger rocks and start throwing them at the girls. And, these rocks actually looks like they could do some damage if you took one to the head. It would be an automatic concussion, so, yeah, not good. Now, if you're a parent and the guys you tell to stop throwing rocks at your kid grab even bigger rocks, he'll probably get furious. So Sydney full out screams at them, "Stop throwing the rocks!" Like, it was a full out scream. Like, you would have thought she was being attacked by Ghostface or something. I seriously can't wait for Scream 6. Like, it's actually gonna be amazing. Like, did you see that trailer? It's so good. Kirby's back. Okay, I'll stop now. I'm just excited for the movie. Anyway, Sydney's scream was so loud that the dog started getting scared, which, like, aw, poor dog. I actually know Sydney's dog pretty well, and he's seriously just the cutest little thing. Like, he's such a good boy. So to hear that he got super scared like this, that's a little heartbreaking. But what's not heartbreaking, however, is that the two bullies got super scared as well. And the best part is that one of them actually peed his pants on the spot, and everyone could see his pants just starting to get really wet. Yeah, I know that's a little gross, but come on, it's pretty funny, right? Just a second ago, this dude was fearless and had no problem throwing rocks at 7-year-olds, but as soon as the mom screams at him to stop, he pees his pants. Yeah, real fearless, buddy. But honestly, what did you expect anyways? You're throwing rocks at little kids. Well, their parents are at the park too. Like, did you think the parents were just not gonna yell at you? If you can't handle being yelled at, maybe just don't throw the rocks. You ever thought of that? Well, actually, don't throw the rocks at all. It's very dangerous. Like, just don't do it at all. Anyway, so the kids immediately start running off, and they get so scared that they split up while running. I don't really know why they thought it would be smart to split up. Maybe their houses were in different directions, who knows, but still, they ran immediately and split up right away, running in different directions. After they left, Sydney, her friend, and the girls calmed down the dog, who was still pretty freaked out, and once they got the dog under control, they decided to leave the park for the day. Thankfully, nobody got hurt, and not a single one of the rocks connected with the girls, which is really good to hear. A couple months ago, Sydney's family was visiting my family during the holidays, and that's when they told me about this whole story. So thank you to them for telling me this. I really appreciate it. If you want to listen to another story just like this, on screen right now is the story of a kid who hated Mr. Beast for no reason and thought his videos were fake.